My name is Charlene from Charlene Creates, and today I want to tell you 5 tips that can help your art improve no matter what your medium is or your skill level. It's what got my work from this to this. My first step that can instantly help you improve your art is to find an influence. And I know the misconception around that. You don't want to copy anyone's work. You don't want to be accused of copying anyone's work. And I'm not asking you to copy anyone. What I'm asking you to do is to take information away from someone's piece in order to create stylistic values that you yourself appreciate that you can use in your own work. An influence helps your work to grow by engaging and challenging your own creativity. While influence can definitely take form visually, it should still be original content that you're recreating. I'm not saying to outwardly copy someone's artwork. Instead, evaluate what characteristics you enjoy. For example, if you like a piece of artwork, think about what you like about the artwork. So let's say that you enjoy a piece's contrast. You can delve deeper by asking yourself, is it because of the depth within the piece? Is the depth creating the contrast within the piece? Or is it because of the colors used? Because you can achieve that contrast through both depth and colors. And if you're able to identify which one the painting is using, you can identify which form of contrast you prefer to find in your work. So maybe you start experimenting with a wider range of values to capture more depth. Or if you like the contrast found within the colors, maybe you create something within that same color scheme. Both take influence from the original, but neither result in a recreation of it. But how can you find influences? Well, that brings us to our next tip: research. By no means do you have to write a research paper, but do research outside of popular influencer creators. For example, popular YouTube artists that test out art supplies or try new art supplies that aren't necessarily making a living off of their art. Instead, you want to look at artists who have had gallery shows. If you want to eventually do the same, you need to look at what's being accepted by galleries. You can start small at first before working your way into the books about the isms. An easy way is to just open Instagram. We're going to find an artist, one whose content you enjoy, not necessarily the content, but the paintings, what they're actually creating, whatever medium they're using, whatever they're creating, you actually enjoy it, you think it's good. And then you're going to go find their website. And once you're on their website, you're going to look around until you find a place that's talking about their criteria. And from that, you're going to look for if they've had any gallery shows. And at that point, if they have, you know you found a verifiable source. Just like with any research, you want to make sure that the research you're doing for your art is also coming from a verified source. If they're not someone who has actually had experience, then any influence they give you may not be beneficial. The next step is to not only look at their works, but to go find their artist statement. If you can read their artist statement, then you get to learn about their process, their ideation, and that can help your own practice and how you ideate, therefore making your work better. My next tip to help you completely change your art is to change your definition of art. If you change the parameters for what is art, then your art changes to fit within those. My personal change of definition in art happened when I heard of the artist Duchamp. He introduced the idea of ready-mades to sculpture, challenging the ideas of what can be art when he displayed a signed urinal at a gallery. Can you believe that? Going into a gallery and seeing a toilet? And that is art. And I'm not saying to start signing random objects around your house, but let go of whatever concept you have of what makes art good. There is no good art, there is no bad art, there is just art. The most important thing you can take away from this video is that art has no rules. Remember that rules do not embrace creation, and the best thing you can do to unlock your true creativity is to step outside them. Which brings us to the next way to improve your art. Concept. Concept is to art as meat is to burger. Without a concept, what is it? The concept should be your piece's origin and often the meaning. And while a concept can be anything, You have to concisely create that to truly create anything. For example, portraiture. Many of us practice with a random reference we found on Google, which is great for practice, but at the end you're left with just a replication of an image with no meaning. Instead, consider your concept before you find a reference photo. This can be helpful when you evaluate what expression do you want the person to have. What type of lighting do you want to have in the photo? Is there a certain ethnicity or gender that would better introduce your ideas and concept? This all correlates into how the piece will speak to the viewer and how your concept will get across to the viewer. So once you start thinking about concept and what concept you have behind art, your art's destined to improve. My final step, and probably the easiest, is to just be open to growth. You're a precious, your work is not, is one of the best things I learned so far in art school. While that sounds extremely harsh, the quicker you can live with that, the sooner you'll be open to growing as an artist. And I know you're watching this video because you want to grow, but I mean growing technically and actually advancing. It helps you approach criticism with an open mind, allowing you to evaluate constructively on it and potentially grow from it. The only way we can grow is if we recognize where we are currently at. The seed never grows down. So if you want to grow up, you have to realize where you are at. And that's all. I hope you really enjoyed these 5 tips and come back next week for 3 ways to overcome artist block. Charlene Creates.